Parents, what's the most shocking thing a teacher said about your child? I'm a single dad raising my son Jake. His mom left when he was 8, just packed up and disappeared one random Tuesday. Since then, it's been just me and him. Jake's always been this quiet, mature kid. Never gets in trouble, always does his homework, says please and thank you. Other parents would tell me how lucky I was to have such a well-behaved kid. So when I got a call from his school saying they needed me to come in immediately for a serious behavioral issue, I figured they had the wrong parent. Jake was in 4th grade and had never even gotten a yellow card for talking too much. I walked into the principal's office, and there's Jake sitting in the corner looking terrified. His face was white as paper and his hands were shaking. Across from him sat 2 teachers, the school counselor and Principal Harris. They all had these serious expressions like someone had died. I sat down expecting to hear about some playground fight or maybe he'd talked back to a teacher. Instead, Mrs. Coleman, his homeroom teacher, looked me dead in the eye and said something I'll never forget. Your son has been operating an underground confession system. He's been collecting secrets from other children, and we're deeply disturbed by what we found. What the hell did that even mean? A confession system? Jake was 10 years old. Turns out about 3 months earlier, one of Jake's classmates had whispered to him that she was scared to go home because of what her stepdad did when her mom worked late shifts. Jake didn't know what to do with that information, so he told her to write it down and give it to him so he wouldn't forget to help her somehow. After she handed him the note, she said she felt better having told someone. So Jake started asking other kids who looked sad or scared if they wanted to write their feelings down and give them to his special box. He called it giving your feelings away so they couldn't hurt you anymore. The teachers had found this box during a routine cubby check. It was wrapped in layers of duct tape and string, hidden way in the back behind his lunchbox and extra pencils. When they opened it, they found 37 handwritten notes from different kids in his class. Mrs. Coleman started reading some of them out loud, and I felt sick to my stomach. One kid wrote about stealing food from gas stations to feed his little brothers because their mom spent all their money on pills. Another wrote that her dad hit her every time she wet the bed, which was every single night. There was one about a kid who saw his uncle hurting their dog in ways that made me want to throw up. The worst one was from a 7-year-old girl who wrote that her babysitter made her do things that hurt and told her it was their special game. She drew pictures on the back of stick figures that I can't even describe. The counselor leaned forward and said something that hit me like a truck. Your son knows more about the broken pieces of this school than any adult here, and he's only 10 years old. They weren't mad at Jake. They were shocked, scared even, because while they were worried about test scores and lunch money, my kid had accidentally become this tiny therapist collecting all the trauma that these children were carrying around. Jake finally spoke up, his voice barely a whisper. I just wanted to help them feel better. When people tell their feelings to someone, it makes the hurt smaller. That's what you always told me when Mom left. I started crying right there in the principal's office, not just because of what those other kids were going through, but because I realized what an incredible weight my son had been carrying. He'd turned into this little guardian angel, collecting all these terrible secrets because he thought it was his job to fix everyone's pain. The school had already called Child Protective Services about the serious cases. 3 kids got removed from their homes that week. The girl with the babysitter, the boy being abused by his uncle, and another kid whose situation was so bad they wouldn't even tell me the details. Jake got suspended for 3 days, not as punishment, but because they needed time to figure out how to handle everything. When I asked him why he never told me about any of this, he said he didn't want me to worry more than I already did about him. On the drive home, I pulled over and just held my kid while he cried. He kept apologizing, saying he didn't mean to get anyone in trouble. I told him he was the bravest person I knew and that he'd probably saved some of those kids' lives.